Welcome to the Over 40 Alpha Podcast with your host, Funk Roberts.
We are live, and welcome to the Over 40 Alpha Podcast. This is episode number 123, and I'm your host, Funk Roberts, former professional athlete turned online fitness expert. I'm also known around the world as the guy who helps men in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond completely transform their bodies, their lives, and their health. And this podcast is specifically for you guys on all levels. That's what we do here. And today I'm excited because, one of the big things that, more and more men as we get older suffer from is stress, right? A lot of stress. There's a lot of things going on in our lives. Even if we think, if I retire, or when the kids leave, or if I change this job, or if I move here, things are going to be better. I'm going to have less stress. But there's always going to be stress in our lives, right? There's always going to be something that happens. And stress can be, there's stress. We need to have stress, right? We need to have that in our lives. That's some, but the way we perceive it, as our guest will talk about today, is how we can process it in either a healthy way or ensure that it's not prolonged, right? But we will have stress. Even if we're retired, then something else will happen. But more and more guys are just unable to handle that stress, unable to figure out, how to deal with it. And a lot of times, even when you go to, the traditional kind of like stress relief practices like meditation or gratitude journals, which are all good, 100%. I mean, we need to do that. Or even going out hiking, you still, your body, your stress, the ability to handle it, your immune, all of those things start to shut down, even though you're putting into practice what you thought or think is how to deal with stress. And a lot of that, like I said, that's good. Like those are things that we should be implementing 100%. Meditation in the morning or at night, whatever you want to meditate, gratitude journals for sure. Getting outside in nature, it doesn't matter if you live in where it's freezing, buy clothes where you can go out in the snow or the cold weather where you're warm, or get out in nature, get some sunlight, all of those things. Of course, sleep, but usually when you're stressed, you can't sleep. But those are important, but even more important and probably the missing link is going to be your nutrition. Right? It's going to be the nutrients. It's going to be the nutrients that you don't have and the poisons that you do have, most likely from foods and your environment, right? Because there's a lot of poisons in our environment. There's a lot of toxins in our environment. And there's also a lot of toxins and poisons in the bad foods that we eat, right? And listen, I'm going to tell you something right now. I'm going to say one thing. A lot of fitness people out there, specifically, I guess because I only hear it on social media, YouTube, they always blame you for your situation in regards to whether you're fat, obese, you're chronically ill, you can't get rid of your belly fat. All of these things, they always blame it on you. They always say, well, people know how to eat. They know what to eat. It's just, they just don't have the discipline, right? And they throw it back at you. I never do that. Because I've learned that it's not about necessarily discipline. Oh, you know what's good and what's bad. You know you're not supposed to eat sugar. But you know that you're not supposed to eat this. You know you're not supposed to eat that. The people know what to do. Actually, what I've learned in the many years I've been doing this, specifically with you guys, men in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, is actually you don't know what to do. And that's not your fault. I'm not blaming this on you. I'm actually letting you off the hook. It is not your fault that you don't know the type of foods you're supposed to eat, the type of foods you're supposed to stay away from, how foods affect you, what supplements are good, what supplements aren't. Am I supposed to eat this? I thought I wasn't supposed to eat that. Should I go on this diet? What about this restrictive diet? This guy's telling me to go on this diet. This person's telling me to go on this. Like, how are you supposed to navigate through all of this foolishness and know what to do? Yes, obviously you know not to eat sugar, but you also don't know there are lots of foods out there that already have sugar in it, right? You think it may be healthy, in quotations, but no, it's actually killing you. It's actually poisoning you because of the sugars. So you may even think, well, I'm doing this vegan diet. I'm supposed to do a vegan diet. I mean, my friend did it, or I do feel better, but no, it's not. That's not the answer. And you wouldn't know because the information is not out there as much as eat over at Harvey's, or eat, McDonald's, or, here's this crappy food, or this crappy food, or this diet, or this. Like, how are you supposed to know? Unless someone actually sits you down and tells you. Once you do know, though, and know everything, then yes, the responsibility is on you to be able to, okay, I know that these are the foods I'm supposed to eat, and there's a list of the foods I'm supposed to stay away from. This is why. This is the sleep I need. Like, yeah. And it's not that easy. So I just wanted to say that was just kind of like a side note. I mean, if you're in my brotherhood, you already know. So you're not off the hook. If you're in the over 40 Alpha Brotherhood, you're definitely not off the hook. If you're new, yes, you're off the hook, but you're going to learn. But if you're in it, you're off the hook. But if you're not in my brotherhood and you're listening and you continuously hear these fitness expert or these fitness people, you don't even call them experts, because if you were an expert, you would know that it's not that easy. It's not that easy for someone who's not in the industry to know that this is good and this is bad. And the reason why I know this, is because I've been doing this for so long, and the coaching calls that I do on a weekly basis exposes a lot of that. The Ask Funks exposes, because I see all the questions like, oh, okay, these guys actually don't know. Okay. This is because I've been doing this for 5 years. Ask Funks. The weekly coaching calls, same questions get asked, similar questions get asked. That leads me to believe that actually it's not just about knowing what to eat, what not to eat, which is why we're where we are at. If it was that simple, other fitness people, if it was that simple, then everyone would be lean and shredded. It's not just as simple as they don't have they just don't want to do it, or they don't have the discipline, or what have you. So, there. I'm letting you off the hook. But today, I'm not going to let you off the hook, because today, I'm excited, because we're going to talk about the nutrition portion of it, the mineral portion of it, and why that actually needs to be something that we look at to fortify our body, so that knowing that there is going to be stress in our lives, knowing that we are going to have stress. People around us are going to die as we get older. We are going to become the patriarchs of the family as we get older, which means that we're going to be dealing with more things. We have to be able to deal with the fact that, may not have a lot of friends. Things are changing around us, all of those things. So luckily for us today, we have Dr. Cori Stern. She helps people and has been helping people to restore and optimize their health naturally since 2001. And, she has a passion for alternative medicine. And this passion grew out of a sick childhood, which she's going to talk about. Obviously characterized by very poor diets, chronic infections, and just the never-ending cycles of antibiotics that a lot of doctors will put us on. So at 15, she decided to take her health out in her own hands and actually reversed all of that. She studied things like gut-brain connection, toxins, how diet impacts person's overall well-being. And this was in the 70s. So this is not someone who was doing this like now. This was in the 70s, before the internet, when you had to go to the library, when you had to go to Britannica Encyclopedia and find all that stuff. But later in life, after realizing that her dream when she was a kid was to not only self-heal herself, but also help others, right? She became a chiropractor. at the age of 32. When she was 37, she graduated, and now she assists people all over the world overcoming health challenges and advocating for their own health care. Dr. Cori Stern, she oversees a busy private practice where she educates other chiropractors how to achieve optimal results for their clients. I know what you're saying. You're saying something that I asked right off the bat. How does being a chiropractic specialist and health, minerals, nutrition, how do they bond? Well, she's going to let us know. She's going to tell us. She's a creator of the Take Control of Your Health channel, which is on YouTube, where she gives bite-sized information on a wide range of modern health topics. And today she's going to talk to us about how we can control, or not just control, but manage our stress, but more importantly, create a healthy terrain, a healthy body, feeding the body the nutrients that it needs while eliminating the poisons and the toxins that are constantly, circling around this body and your body. All right. So enjoy the podcast with Dr. Cori Stern. Welcome everybody to today's podcast, episode number 123. And I'm really excited today because today we are going to dive into first the importance of naturally decreasing our stress levels, right? We have a lot of stress in this world, stuff that, that we put on ourselves because of things that we do throughout the day at work, at home, what have you. But, there's a lot of stress that's going around the world that can also affect us, things that we don't have, control over. And, knowing ways to naturally decrease our body's stress levels. We know that we need this for, too much cortisol can do damage to us. And then also I want to dive into the immune and how we can understand optimizing our immune. So who better to talk about that than Dr. Cori Stern, who's with us today. Hey, Cori, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Thank you for being on our podcast. So first and foremost, why don't you kind of give us your origin story? How did you, become, an expert in this field?
My story is interesting, actually. It started off as a fetus in my mom's uterus, and my parents were extremely poor eaters. They were raised on garbage food, and they were both heavy smokers, as well as not only smoking cigarettes, but smoking marijuana. I was a fetus in 1962 before the Surgeon General's warning that cigarettes may be harmful to a fetus's health. So my mom didn't know any better. And when I was born with what I call a garbage body, because your body is literally made out of what you eat or what your mom eats when she's pregnant with you. So I was sick my entire childhood. I was always having an infection, ear infection, throat infection, bladder infection. I was always on antibiotics. I was always chewing on those little orange baby aspirins for anyone who's old enough to remember that. And I thought it was normal. I thought this was how life was. And by the time I was 15, I was sick with a throat infection that would not respond to anything that I was given. So I kept getting put on one drug after another, and nothing was helping me. And I was a teenager. It was the summertime. I was very upset that I couldn't go hang out with my friends because I felt so terrible. And I kind of got angry, and I decided maybe medical doctors don't know how to help people get better. And I decided I would try to figure out how to heal myself. So I started to do some research, and this is back in the mid-'70s, before there were computers. I was doing a lot of reading. And one of the things I stumbled on in my reading was a magazine called Prevention. And this was pretty much the only mainstream alternative publication at the time. And it's actually still in print today. And when I read that magazine, I discovered something that I never knew before, and that is that there's a connection between your nutrition and the state of your health. So obviously my parents didn't teach me that. I didn't learn it in school. So I decided to completely change my own diet. I was working at the time as a babysitter, and I used all my money to buy my own food. And I eliminated white flour and sugars and preservatives, chemicals. I started to eat real food instead of what I call processed product garbage. And additionally, I stumbled on a book in my local health food store where I was spending a lot of time called Back to Eden. And that book is what I call an herbal Bible. It was written in the 1920s, and it has every herb on planet Earth that God has provided for us to use for staying healthy. And I studied that book, and I started buying herbs and making concoctions and drinking them. And between changing my diet and taking herbs, I healed myself. And that planted the seed in me that maybe one day I could do this for other people. I could help people using whatever God has given us on planet Earth to stay healthy. And that's how I got started. And now I've been doing this for many, many years.
Wow. So the fact, a couple of things you said there kind of blew me away, because first and foremost, in the 70s, like the wherewithal to understand that processed foods and sugars were, bad for you, damaging your body. Like, that's incredible. The fact that you were able to find that and kind of start implementing that. Like, what did your friends say? Because, if I'm 15, 16 years old and my buddy's coming up to me saying, hey, I got this concoction that I created, I'm like, hey man, like, beat it. Like, what were people around you, saying about stuff like that?
I think because I lived in Manhattan in the 70s, it was kind of one of those, like, we were all a little bit hippies,
Yeah.
I think that the people that thought I was crazy were my parents. They totally did not get what I was doing. But my friends just kind of took it in stride, I think, and, live and let live. Nobody tried to do what I was doing. Nobody asked me for health advice, but I persisted with it, and it really made me who I am today, which is somebody that is not only passionate about helping people to restore health naturally, but I'm extremely skilled at it. And I can't think of a better job making healthy babies and helping people to live happier lives because they feel good. It's just and preventing disease. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing how, like, we've come so far we haven't come so far, actually. We've gone backwards. We've actually gone backward, because I know that in the 70s, when I was, growing up, when we're eating vegetables, the foods that we're eating were much more nutrient dense. Like, I know that broccoli in the 70s is way more nutrient dense than broccoli today. And it's so weird how, like, okay, we have all this. I mean, you found something in Prevention magazine, right? And the Book of Eden from the 20s. So, like, it's not like, oh, these things have just kind of like just started to we're only now making research and science behind the quality of our food. But we've known this for so long, and the fact that we're going completely backward, it's no surprise that your parents or school weren't really going to teach you that stuff, because I didn't learn about nutrition from my parents. I didn't learn about nutrition in school. That's something that we probably need to do more of. But that's probably because our parents are just kind of just doing whatever they're doing to stay alive, right? To keep the lights on. So you're now you're a teenager. You heal yourself, and now where do you go from there? Like, so with all of this information and you just healing yourself, where does that passion take you? Do you go to school? Do you go to where does that take you?
I started off in social work school, which is a little bit of a diversion from where I thought I was going to go. And I ended up being a social worker helping families with chronically ill children. And I wasn't helping the children with their health so much as with services they needed. And I did that for a while, in the process, having given birth to a son with a very rare genetic disorder. So I became a specialist in that field for a little while. And then I woke up on my 32nd birthday and, God spoke to me and said, you're supposed to be doing something else, something bigger, something helping people in a bigger way. And I said yes to that voice. And that day, I went to my chiropractor for an adjustment during my lunch break at work. And while I was laying on the table, I looked around the room and I said, I think I'm going to go to chiropractic school. Just like that. I went back to my office and I applied to chiropractic school right away. And so it took me 5.5 years from that point to graduate with a doctorate in chiropractic. And I immediately opened up my own business and started the process of healing people the way that I think I was meant to.
Okay, so in 5 years, you became a chiropractor. You opened up your own practice. And so my question is, how does the what you do, in regards to natural healing and chiropractic medicine, how do those combine? How do they connect?
That's a great question that nobody ever asks me. So
Okay.
the truth is, I mostly practice nutrition, and one of the reasons I became a chiropractor is because it's so compatible with practicing nutrition. Chiropractic helps to restore healthy nerve function in the body, which is great, and almost everybody needs it because it's actually not natural to sit. Before there was technology, there was no chairs. People would do everything. They would be moving all day, and then they would squat most of the time to eat or to poop or to give birth, and then they would lay down to sleep. So there wasn't a whole lot of sitting going on. Now people are sitting a lot. So that screws up your spine, which interferes with your spinal nerves and your spinal cord, which affects your entire body. So chiropractic is an amazing way of helping to maintain health. But nutrition, as I have discovered, is the basis of health. So many chiropractors like myself have found that if people are not eating properly, if they have nutritional deficiencies or imbalances, all the chiropractic in the world doesn't fix them. So it's a perfect marriage. At this stage in my life, I'm 60 now, I am mostly doing nutrition.
Okay, that's great. Actually, I think that's fantastic because, nutrition is key. And 99.9% of the people listening to this podcast right now, or actually I'll just say 99% because the other 1% are part of the brotherhood, probably don't understand a lot about nutrition. And a lot of people kind of demonize people because they're like, well, everyone knows what to eat and what not to eat. But actually, everyone does not know what to eat and what not to eat, right? Like it isn't that simple as don't eat sugar and don't eat this. It's not that simple because there's a lot of hidden stuff in our foods. There's a lot of things in our foods that we don't even know that's in there. So we may think we're eating healthy or, okay, well, I heard that I'm not supposed to eat this type of, carb, or I'm not supposed to eat this type of fat. And so, the old people actually know what to do. They just don't have the discipline. I got to throw that out the door because it is more complex than that. And so, why don't you talk about some of the key nutrients, I guess, that a lot of people need that we're not getting?
Yes, I like talking about that because first of all, there's so much false data out there about nutrition, and we've been misled. We've been misled by, I call them the bad guys, and people that want us to be unhealthy so they can sell us drugs. So first of all, especially for hormonal support, fat and cholesterol are critically important. Your hormones are made out of cholesterol. Your brain is made out of mostly fat and cholesterol. So that's something that a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people are deficient because they're avoiding it, because they think it's bad for them. And then on top of that, they've been diagnosed by their medical doctor with high cholesterol and put on a drug that forces the cholesterol level to go down, and that interferes with, in men, their testosterone production. So the word testosterone, you can hear the similarity with the word cholesterol. Sterol, it's made out of the same thing. So that's number one. And then when you talk about fat, understanding what is good versus bad fat. And there's a lot of misinformation about that too. People are taught that animal fat is bad for you, that saturated fat is bad for you. That is wrong, 100% wrong. Man-made fat is bad for you. If God didn't create it, it doesn't belong in your body. So if you take a healthy animal, let's say a cow that's grass-fed and well taken care of and humanely slaughtered, and you eat the fat from that cow and also the meat and even the organs, you're going to get really nutrient-dense, wonderful vitamins and minerals and everything that your body needs to be healthy. However, if you eat canola oil, which is synthetic practically, or any of the seed oils or any of the oils that are made commercially, they're going to contain literally like gasoline. They're made with hexane and other disgusting things, and they're extremely inflammatory. So they create disease. So that's one of the biggest things that people are deficient in is good quality fats. And then the other thing, there's many things, but the other thing that I run into a lot is salt. Salt is not bad for you. Salt is an essential mineral. Your body cannot function without sodium. Your nervous system runs on sodium. Your muscles need sodium to contract and relax. But when you're looking at eating salt, you have to eat, again, salt that comes from the earth, from the sea, the salt that God made, not the salt made in a lab that's processed. That's the salt that's not good for you. So these are the two most common things I run into on a daily basis, or I should say three things. I avoid fat and cholesterol, and I avoid salt because I think it's bad for me.
Yeah, and that ends up creating an even worse environment, right? Because they think they're doing, and that's the thing. You think you think you're eating healthy, right? Your doctor, and unfortunately, and again, I'm not, unfortunately, doctors are kind of just depending on, like at our age, the doctors that we go to see are generally probably older than us, or the same age or what have you. So their evolution in what they've learned from the time they became a doctor to now is pretty small. Specifically because they have so many patients coming with different things. So when they're telling you have high cholesterol, and the first thing they're going to do is, put you on some type of prescription drug, because for many reasons, but one reason would be because, hey, look, I don't think my patient's going to know how to eat good fat, so I'm just going to give him this here, and he can just go, and that's all good, and here you go, and next patient come in. And, obviously, there's other reasons that could arise, but generally speaking, that's what they do. So, but if you have that information, I mean, the information that you just said, it is music to my ears, because I preach it every day. So it's music to my ears, everything that you're saying. You can push back against your doctors. You can push back against your doctors and say, hey, you know what? I know it's high cholesterol, but is that high HDL? Is it LDL? Like, what are you telling me that's high in the cholesterol? And then even pushing back even more, saying, hey, listen, but I need cholesterol for my testosterone production. It's the precursor. And if you're giving me a prescription drug, that's going to kill my T levels. It's going to kill, and now I'm not even going to be able to produce the thing that I need to help my body, function. And yeah, with the salt too, it's just it's something that a lot of people think that, okay, I'm not eating salt, but it's the sodium from artificial, right? Like sodium in the foods, the soy sauce, piling soy sauce on your on your food and rice and that sort of thing. So in regards to, okay, so I'm gonna switch gears here because those are three big ones. What about, so we talk about things like pathogens and heavy metals and all of that stuff. What are they? Like what like, because we hear it, and we hear about that stuff, but we don't know really what it is.
Yeah.
And how do we avoid it or what?
Right. How to make your body healthy enough so that even though you can't avoid it, it doesn't make you sick. That's the key.
Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So pathogens are basically, they're germs. They're what I call the bad guys that invade your body if it is susceptible. So we call it terrain, right? Your body is the terrain. Your body is like the soil. And if the soil is bad, you're going to have bad things grow in it. And if the soil, your body, the terrain is good, then your immune system will not allow the bad guys to grow. So the pathogens, the bad guys, can be things like parasites or bacteria, viruses, fungus, yeasts, that type of thing. Now, you mentioned heavy metals, and there's an interesting relationship between heavy metals or other toxins, not just metals, but toxic heavy metals, toxic chemicals, and pathogens. There's a relationship because when the body is very toxic, that makes the terrain bad and allows these pathogens to thrive. The other thing that happens that's very interesting is most people think of their immune system as something that helps them to fight off germs or pathogens. However, your immune system also responds when you're toxic. So let's just say I'm going to give an example. Let's just say that I'm trying to come up with an example that most people can relate to. Let's say that you drink water, tap water, that is heavily treated with chlorine and other chemicals. You didn't filter it, you just drank it straight from the tap. And now you've poured a bunch of chemicals into your body. Your immune system sees those chemicals as invaders, as something that is not good for you, and its job is to get rid of stuff that's not good for you. So it activates the immune system and tries to deal with it, tries to get rid of the toxins. Now, there's other body systems that come into play when you're toxic. Your liver is a big detox organ. Your bowels eliminate toxins. If you're, pooping on a regular basis, your kidneys eliminate toxins through your urine. But most people don't realize that the immune system plays a role as well. Now, let's say you're toxic all the time. Let's say you keep putting poison into your body on a regular basis through the food you're eating, through the water you're drinking. If you're taking pharmaceuticals, those are poisons. Just breathing the air can expose you to poison. So now your immune system is constantly getting activated and constantly trying to deal with this toxic environment. And then you, you're eating sushi and you get exposed to a parasite, and your immune system is so depleted from dealing with the toxins on a daily basis that it doesn't have the strength now to handle the parasite. So then it starts, making babies, and now you've got a lot of parasites in there. Or substitute parasite for bacteria or fungus or yeast or virus. And that's really how you end up sick. So the more toxic you are, the more at risk you are for getting sick. And that is why we say the terrain needs to be clean. It needs to have the proper nutrients to keep it functioning. There are certain relationships, like if you have a lot of heavy metals in your body, parasites will eat it. So the parasites are trying to help you with the metal problem, but then you end up with a parasite problem. And heavy metals, how do you get them? Well, a lot of people use antiperspirant that's loaded with aluminum. When you put it on your skin, it's going right into your bloodstream. Also, immunizations have metals in them. So you're injecting metal directly into your bloodstream. If you cook with aluminum cookware, even cigarette smoke has cadmium. There's so much heavy metal exposure in our environment that you can't fully avoid it, but you do want to try to reduce your toxic load as best you can. Control what you can control. I think you might have mentioned that earlier. Yeah,
for sure. That's I mean, you're right. It's so difficult to avoid it because it's everywhere. Both pathogens and heavy metal. I mean, food definitely is one of those things that are going to increase that in our bodies. But what are some symptoms? So let's say that, because really and truly, I may be drinking tap. I don't drink tap water, but every day you just tap water. You're at work. You're thirsty. Funk tells you got to drink a gallon of water a day. So you're just, okay, I got to get this gallon of water. I'm going to go to the tap. And it's just kind of like your go-to, right? Maybe you work in an environment in a factory where, there's all kinds of stuff happening inside that factory. But, what are symptoms? Like, how are you going to start to know that, hey, something's not right? Like, of course, we get comfortable feeling bad. A lot of people get comfortable feeling bad. They feel like, oh, this is how I'm supposed to feel. And it's not until I see it every day inside of my program. It's like they're like, oh my God, I can't believe I have all this energy. All I did was drink water every morning, with electrolytes. All I did was, actually start adding complex carbs, taking this out. And now I just have energy for days. It's like, I didn't know I could feel any better. And then, you know what I mean? So a lot of people just get comfortable. But how do we really know, okay, man, something's going on, something's wrong, because I'm always getting sick, or I'm always getting a virus, or like, what are some of the symptoms?
Well, that's one of them, what you just said, repeated infections, or, poor resistance to things like colds or flus or things like that. So that is definitely a sign. But really, the truth is that it can be any symptom. So it can be frequent headaches. It can be brain fog or memory loss. It can be low energy, fatigue, poor sleep, body pain, feeling weak. So there's no one way of knowing. What I do recommend for everyone that I work with, all of my patients, is to do a gentle detox. I just do it routinely for everyone.
What is that? What is a gentle detox?
Yeah,
I need
when
to do
I
it.
say
You just literally you just literally named off 4 things I had today.
Oh.
Body pain, weak. I had bad sleep.
Oh, boy.
I'm just like, wait
I'm
a
sorry.
minute. I need to. Well, no, I know why that is. It's because I'm working on a project, and sometimes when you are working on something specific, you put your body in a very stressful environment for a short period of time. And so those are things that happen when I'm in there. But what is that gentle detox for everybody?
So
listening?
when we talk about gentle, we mean that we don't want you to detox so fast or so hard that you end up with what we call detox symptoms, right? So that would be feeling like a truck ran over you. That would be feeling flu-like symptoms. It's a reaction that, if you're very toxic, it's a reaction that your body can have. And it's not harmful, but it's very difficult to tolerate, right? It interferes with your functioning. And I remember the first time, before I knew any of this, when I tried to do a detox, and I was very toxic, myself, and I didn't mention one of the exposures to heavy metals is having mercury-based dental fillings, and I had a lot of them as a kid because I grew up on sugar, and I was very toxic, and I tried to do this major detox, and I remember I was a runner, and I was out trying to do a run, and I had to stop. I went home. I was laid out on the couch, like, what's happening to me? What's wrong with me? And I had to abort the detox. So we don't do it that way. We do it gently. It's not a race, it's a marathon, and we use things that slowly bind to toxins in your body and pull them out. And we can do, like, I call it like a surface cleaning. So get some of the toxins out while we're reducing your exposure, at the same time evaluating what exposures you have and reducing them. And then we might be able to go a little deeper and do a bigger detox. So I have a lot of different types of detox products that I use. I love chlorella, which is a super green food. Spirulina is wonderful. And then I literally have these, they're called homeopathic remedies. Homeopathy is a form of treatment that is substances that are the mirror image of what's in the body. So it's like, I'm trying to explain it simply. So let's just say you have a bunch of aluminum in your body, and the homeopathic remedy to detox it, the molecular structure of it is similar but opposite, and it will just bind to it. It'll, catch it and pull it out. And we do all of this. We do it with babies. We do it with little animals. So we know that it's very tolerable. So if somebody feels that somebody listening thinks they're toxic and would like some guidance, I can do a consult for you. I do have some of these products on my website too. You can just peruse it.
We're going to get drcori.com, right?
And then we can, as I said, as you're getting stronger and feeling better, if we need to, we can go a little deeper, do like a cleanse, which is what knocked me out. I did a cleanse right away.
Yeah. So that's big. So what if you're healthy, like you're eating healthy, you're working out, you're you're doing your mobility, you're meditating, keep stress down, but you're still getting a lot of this stuff. Like most people are going to go to their doctor, right? That's the first thing they're going to do. And what are you going to say to your doctor? Like, what's your doctor going to do? Like, you're going to be, I'm feeling like this. I'm going to feel like that. I feel like this. Is your doctor even going to know about what you just told us?
No, absolutely not. In fact, what I find is that when a patient appears to be healthy, their blood work is good, there's no outward signs of illness, but yet they're complaining about something like constant fatigue or anxiety or poor sleep, what ends up happening is a medical doctor, and not all of them, and I just want to say I do have some medical doctors that come to me as patients that have figured out what I'm talking about, but the majority of medical doctors, because of their training, will say, oh, it must be stress, it's emotional. Here, I'm going to write you a prescription for an antidepressant or an anti-anxiety medication. And I have heard story after story. And then people come to me after the fact, and I have to undo the damage done by these horrible pharmaceuticals and correct the underlying cause of what the actual, thing is going on. And very often it's nutritional deficiency, mineral deficiencies, fat deficiencies, or toxins. Even something like a parasite can cause weird symptoms. And conventional medicine can't find parasites unless they're coming out of your poop. That's the only test they have for it. And parasites are very smart. They learn how to hide. They don't want to come out. They don't want to end up getting flushed down the toilet. So those tests are often negative even when parasites are rampant in the body. And you can be very symptomatic with that, and a medical doctor will not be able to help you with it. So that's how people end up getting help from me, either because they've gone the conventional medical route and didn't get help, or they want to avoid the scenario that you were talking about earlier. You have to go on this cholesterol medication. No, I don't want to, but you're going to die if you don't go on it. That's what they want to avoid, dealing with that. So they'll come to me instead.
Yeah, I have a family member who's like happy that they're on it. And I'm like, man, you don't want to be on it, like, yeah, but if he's not on and he's going to die, it's like, no, that's not true. It's not as simple as that, Is it, I guess it's good to just get a full blood work, you know what I mean? Just to find out if there is any deficiencies.
You can't.
Right? What are your thoughts?
You can't find out. You can't find out that way. It's really not, first of all, it's not accurate. So when we're talking about nutritional deficiencies, what we really want to know is what's inside your cells, what's inside your tissue, what's inside your organs. Blood work can't tell you that. Blood work is a snapshot of that day, that moment. So if you ate, certain foods, then, the day before, it's going to be reflected in your blood work that day. The other thing is it can't test for everything, really. If you get routine blood work, they might test for vitamin D, vitamin B12, iron. Yeah. What about all the rest of the Bs? Do you ever see B1, B2, B3, B4 on blood work? No. Do you ever see vitamin C on blood work? No. What about A? There's a lot of stuff missing there. So I'm able to figure it out. And just based on my training, I can figure out where your deficiencies are, but also helping people to eat a nutrient-dense diet will help the process along. At least preventing further deficiencies. And when I say nutrient dense, I just want to define that for a minute. So first, let's define food. My definition of food is anything that grows on the ground, grows on a tree, or has a mother, and is minimally processed. And minimal processes, we're talking about fermenting and sprouting and, light cooking. Anything else turns it into a processed product, and there's garbage added to it, and it's no longer something that serves the needs of your body and your health. Now, with foods that grow on the ground, grow on a tree, or have a mother, they have to be grown in soil, or eating grass grown in soil, or eating food grown in soil that has minerals in it. How does your body get nutrition? It actually ends up coming originally from the soil. If you're eating commercially farmed foods, you can be pretty sure that the soil is depleted of nutrients because they use petroleum-based fertilizers. How do you put minerals into the soil? You use manure. That's what puts it in there. So that's why organic farms, forget about the fact that they don't spray with toxic pesticides. Organic farms, in order to be called organic, have to use natural fertilizer for at least 3 years, at least in the United States, for at least 3 years. So if your listeners in the U.S. are interested in finding the best source of nutrient-dense foods in their area, grown on a small-scale family farm, there's actually an organization that can match you with a farm that's either near you, that can deliver, or that you can go pick up from. Or if you're in what we call a food desert and there's no farms around you, they can actually ship it to you, and they do a great job. They pack it in dry ice, and it's very fresh when it gets to you. So I love that. I put that out there to everybody all the time, because I feel like if we all started eating from these farms, the world would change.
Yeah. What farm? Who is it?
It's the website is Farm Match, one word, farmmatch.com/Dr. Cori, DRCORI.
Beautiful.
So I'm a big activist in this area, trying to hook people up with farms.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think yeah, that's one of the things that I also talk about is, the organic, grass-fed, all of those things in my nutrition. I think if the guys go through the food list of all the different foods, you're not going to see anything that's processed or, it's just, one ingredient foods.
Exactly.
And yes, you can, and there's a lot of one ingredient foods, and that's the thing. There's tons of one ingredient
Right.
foods. It's just, understanding that, and it's more about learning, because again, I don't expect these guys, if you're listening, I don't expect you to know all of this stuff. It's not out there for you to know. Like if it was out there, if you learned it when we were younger, if, it was in commercials all the time, and if it was, something that was easily available, then yes, I would say yes. Now it is about your discipline, but it isn't, because it's still there's so many things coming at you, diets and this and that, and don't eat this diet, and take away this food completely in your diet, and all of these things. And, they're fad diets, restrictive diets. But as Dr. Cori, you were just mentioning, like, we need those nutrients, we need those minerals and vitamins. Like it's so important. So let's talk about what we can do to stay healthy. How can we optimize our immune system, optimize our, decrease our stress through nutrition?
So one of the biggest factors in having difficulty handling stress and having stress symptoms, and stress symptoms can be anxiety, depression, insomnia. It can be things like high blood pressure, headaches, muscle pain, because that's all stress causes all of those things. And stress, by the way, is a normal part of life. It never goes away. It changes form. Correct. It changes intensity. It's always going to be there. A lot of people think, as soon as my kids grow up and move out, I'll have less stress, or get a better job, or get a better car. And that's true. Maybe the stress will change, but then other stuff starts to happen as you age, and then your friends get sick, or your body doesn't feel the same. Whatever, it's always going to be there. So we're not looking to eliminate stress. We're looking to help strengthen your body so it doesn't get sick from stress, and also changing your perspective on stress. So what I like to explain to people is that stress really is a perception. You take two people jumping out of an airplane, and one of them finds it to be the most fun thing they've ever done, and the other one is terrified and peeing in their pants. So the event of jumping out of the airplane, the event of doing that is not stressful. It is your perception of it, your viewpoint on it. So I always recommend that people start actually looking at how they perceive things, and how important is this really, and how, what's the worst thing that can happen, and try to change the way they look at it. But it's a lot easier to do that if you're not nutritionally deficient. So minerals play a huge role in your body's ability to handle stress. When you have mineral deficiency, it's much easier for you to fall apart, for you to, freak out, for you to have a panic attack. So just talk about some minerals. We already mentioned salt. Sodium is an important one. There's so many minerals that your body needs. There's some that it needs a lot of: calcium and magnesium, iron, iodine. There's some that, your body needs less of: zinc, manganese, boron. There's many of them. They all play an important role in your body's functioning. I like to call minerals the keys that turn the body systems on. So your thyroid can't make thyroid hormone without iodine. Your body tissues can't be oxygenated unless your blood cells are carrying iron. Your bones can't be strong unless there's calcium, magnesium, phosphorus in them. So when you're deficient in these minerals, which come from the soil, you will not function properly, and more of your body systems will start to not be good.
Function.
And then you're not gonna feel well. So the key to kind of bolstering your body's ability to be strong and handle whatever's coming at you is to ensure that you're keeping your foods mineral rich. Now, if you already have deficiencies, it's very hard to correct deficiencies with food alone. You just can't eat enough of it to fix the problem. And that's where supplements come in, and they're helpful. And you have to be very careful with the quality. A big snob when it comes to supplements, because I only use supplements that I have researched very deeply and know are clean and effective. And most of the things that I use are made out of food. So that makes sense, because that's what your body needs in order to correct these deficiencies. So I have a wonderful stress mineral. If you're somebody that suffers easily from stress, and I'm seeing more and more of my male patients over 40 having difficulty with stress and showing symptoms of anxiety, and very often high blood pressure can result from a poor stress response. So my favorite stress mineral is called Minchex. And I call it chill checks. I call it my chill pill. I have a pretty demanding life. I'm under what most people would call continuous stress. I run a small business in New York City. I have a YouTube health channel. I go on many different podcasts. I have a special needs son. I travel around the United States teaching other practitioners how to do what I do. It's a lot. But Minchex makes it a little easier for me, so I can stay calm under pressure and not let it make me sick.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, I was going to ask you about the supplementation portion of it, and I'm glad you touched on that, because that's the other thing too that people will run to first is the supplements. Okay, well, I realize that I'm deficient in whatever. Let me jump in a supplement, where maybe food would be, the better thing, because just because you are on supplements and then you continue to eat a crappy diet, a crappy, not getting it at all, the supplement's not going to work. It's not going to do what you need it to do, because you're not creating an environment, like you mentioned, Dr. Cori, about the soil, about the terrain, right? I love that analogy, the terrain. We always want to keep our terrain as healthy as we can, because we are going to face, whatever the perceived stress is, specifically as we get older, because, just because the kids leave, as people get older, your family members start to pass away, or you start to get your purpose, right? You don't have the same purpose that you did before, and that can be stressful for a lot of men. Men are they don't have the friends that they used to have. They're very lonely, and that can cause a lot of stuff. Plus, whatever the daily stressors that we have. So it's even more important to keep that terrain as healthy as possible and not poison it or fill it with things that aren't going to give you the minerals that you need. So supplements after the nutrition.
Yes, one of my favorite sayings is, you can't out-supplement a bad diet.
Love it, because I usually say you can't out-train, so we're both on the same page. And yet, I used to, I have supplements, but the thing that I learned very quickly is, like you, I make sure that my supplements are very high quality. Actually, I have a doctor that I work with. We do research. It took us a year to create our testosterone supplement. But when you create your own high quality supplements, two things happen. Number one, they're extremely expensive to make. And number two, they take long to make, because these supplement companies want, the manufacturers, they want to just put things together and get it out there. But when you have a supplement that's more higher quality, we got to search for this ingredient and that, it takes a lot longer, and it was just getting very stressful on my end. So, I kind of pulled back on the supplements that I have, but I like that stress mineral something that you have, Minchecks. I think that's great. So we want to optimize our immune. We got to make sure that we're eating whole foods. We have to, just look at the toxins that we're putting in our body, right? And manage our stress, right? I think that's key. But the immune thing is the biggest, I think, for me in regards to. Oh, here's what I want to ask you. Okay, here's a question. COVID, right? How, I'm finding that, when I get COVID, it really affects me post, right? Because I'll get it and it's easy for me to get rid of it, but I feel it, right? Like T levels go down, brain fog, whatever else, things like, trying to get word, like even right now sometimes, and it's like, well, how is that affecting our body? How is that affecting us? You know what I mean? In regards to, the vid.
So I've unfortunately become an expert in helping people with this because I see a lot of it. And it was actually happening to me. So in 2021, I got what I would call COVID. I didn't take a test, but I lost my sense of smell. So, and I found myself with really bad brain fog. And I was on the phone with a colleague of mine trying to have a conversation with him, and I just couldn't keep track of anything. And he said, oh, you need to take nattokinase. And I happen to have some in my house. So I popped a nattokinase, and all of a sudden, boom, the lights turned on. I was like, oh, wow, I know where I am. I remember my name. So that's something that actually helps to dissolve fibrotic tissue. And one of the problems with COVID is that you produce these spike proteins that in turn can produce fibrotic tissue in your body. So nattokinase is one of the things I've stayed on it ever since. So it's almost 2 years now I've been taking it. And also there's a stronger, so I have it on my website too. It's called Natto LP. There's a stronger version of it for people who are really developing, clogged arteries post-COVID or post, the jab. So that is called More Than Just Cardio Support. And all it is enzymes that dissolve fibrotic tissue and clogged arteries. And it's totally safe. There's nothing artificial in it. And then to actually dissolve spike proteins, I have another supplement. And in that supplement, it's a combination of quercetin, bromelain, NAC, which is N-acetylcysteine, and stinging nettle. So that supplement was originally designed as a natural antihistamine. And it works beautifully for things like that, for allergic reactions and things like that, but it also happens to be very effective at dissolving spike proteins. So I end up pretty much putting everybody on, and that's, by the way, that the name of that is D-HIST, H-I-S-T. So that's also my website. So I end up putting...
All of these are on your website, right? All of these?
Yeah, okay. I end up putting everybody on that, because everybody has exposure. Right? Everybody probably is producing spike proteins and never hurts to dissolve fibrotic tissue in your arteries also to, keep your arteries clean. So, Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you for that information, because I think that's going around a lot, and just people not understanding what's happening to them, what's going on with my body, not even knowing if they had stuff, you know what I mean? It's a weird time right now. It really is.
As much as you're trying to stay healthy, it's still very, man, what's happening? Like I'm doing everything right, but there's still something not right. And I think it's good that we ask these questions, because I think that allows us to assess our what's going on in our lives, right? Like, I have an HRV that I look at, and if it's down three days in a row, I know, okay, something's happening. There's stress going on. My HRV should not be going down. 3 days in a
I
row.
give
So that's happening.
HRVs to my patients
Yes.
frequently, and I look at that,
Yeah.
but also I do put people on preventative immune support.
Yes.
So things
Totally.
like echinacea is wonderful.
Yeah.
There are herbs that are called adaptogens that help your body adapt to changing and stressful conditions, such as ashwagandha. These are things that I just use on a daily basis. I take a lot of them myself, and I don't want to brag, but I haven't been seeming to catch anything. I see sick people on a daily basis. This past week alone, I had many symptomatic people coming in to see me, and I seem to be fine. So I think it's, prevention is the key, maintaining a nutrient-dense diet, taking maybe some, protective nutrients.
Totally.
On my website, on the shop drop-down menu, shop Standard Process supplements. Standard Process is one of the main companies I use. It's the oldest nutritional supplement company in the United States. It was actually established in 1929 by a dentist who understood that processed food was causing nutritional deficiencies, and he created supplements made out of food to correct deficiencies. And
awesome.
On that website, you can find all kinds of immune support stuff, all kinds of wonderful herbs. Minchex is on there. So I find it to be a great addition to healthy eating. Don't forget your sleep, because you do most of your healing in your sleep. I'm sure you talk about that a lot. And,
100%.
Staying hydrated, and then getting out in nature, getting some sunshine, and then also deep breathing, because that helps trick your body into thinking it's relaxed even when it's not.
It's amazing thing. This has been awesome. I was about to say something about, it's funny if you're listening right now, generally speaking, in my program, there are two types of members. There's the guys who continuously go through phase after phase, their health changes, their lives change, their bodies change. Sure, they have stressful situations, they may get sick, but they never stop the process of healthy eating, the nutrition portion, the working out and exercising, getting outside when they can. That never stops. Then there's the second half of the members that will start great, and then they're gone for 4 months, or they're gone for 5 months, or they're gone for 3 months or 6 months, and then they come back and it's like, yeah, it was really stressful, or yeah, I got sick, or yeah, I got injured, or yeah, I got this, or yeah, I got that, but I'm back, and it's harder. And it's like, hey man, you literally stopped the most important thing that was going to get you through that, whatever you were dealing with. Not only did you stop the most important thing, but you stopped coming to our group where you can get that connection and get that support. Like, the most important thing is the thing, and this is why you're been gone for 6 months and put back on 20, 30, 40 pounds, or have been sick, or have this injury, because that's something we need forever, right? This is something we need forever. So if it is taking, 10 pills a day or 15 pills a day, like supplement-wise, by the way, that's what it is. It's just we're at the point now, the soil is not like it used to be, the nutrients aren't like it used to be, and we need to fortify our terrain. So everything you said there was incredible. And yes, we're definitely, I appreciate you being on the podcast. Is there any last words you want to leave for the listeners? And then let us know where to find you as well. I know we mentioned a couple of times, but again, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. And I agree with everything you just said. There are some patients that struggle to keep up with things when life gets hard. And I tell them all the time, it's keeping up with these things that will make it easier for you to go through the hard times. And I am a walking testimony to that. I walk the walk. I don't tell anybody to do anything that I don't do myself. So yeah, so on my website, I actually have a PDF that you can download called Everyday Items You Never Knew Were Toxic. So that's a good starting point for seeing things that you're doing on a daily basis that you don't realize how you're poisoning yourself. For example, toilet paper. I mean, that's on the list. So I do recommend everybody check that out. And then I have a YouTube health channel, and it's my name, Dr. Cori Stern, Coristern, on YouTube. And I have videos on just about every health topic you can think of, including prostate health for your listeners. But if you have any special requests, if you want me to do a video on something specific, just reach out to me, either comment on one of the videos or email me at questions@drcori.com. I am happy to take requests. I love doing that, actually. And if you specifically need help or guidance with your health, I do consults. I have people from all over the world that I'm helping. And, it's fulfilling my purpose in life. So the more the merrier. Don't hesitate.
That's awesome. And they can reach you, and then you guys do like a Zoom consultation type thing? Or...
Exactly.
Okay, perfect. So guys, if you're listening, do it. Like, listen, if your doctor is busy, doctors are busy. They're overloaded with patients. But you know that there's something wrong. Reach out to Dr. Cori. All of that information will be in this video, but also in the notes. And I'm definitely gonna download that ebook. That'll also be, the link will be here to see what things in this house that my wife and I are using that's causing that's just poisoning us, and how we can at least eliminate some, or if not all. Thank you so much, Dr. Cori, for being on the podcast. And guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next podcast.